Imagine this. You're deep into prepping for a project. Everything is meticulously planned. Every detail's in place. You're so proud of yourself. And then bam, the rug is pulled out from under you because the homeowner has a family emergency and you've lost your location. Or the celebrity talent demands a reschedule. Or a blizzard looms in the horizon. Whatever. The unthinkable thing has happened. So you face a cancellation or postponement. It can be heart-stopping in the moment. So what's your next move? Where do you even begin? Today, we're tackling the art of navigating cancellations and postponements, not just from the perspective of production and logistics, because you probably got that down, but also through the crucial lens of client management. How you manage these delicate conversations can make or break the entire situation. Your role is to change potential disorder into effective problem solving. Stick around to the end, as we'll also be breaking down the AICP guidelines for handling these challenges. So grab your drink and buckle up.
You're listening to Producers Happy Hour. I'm Lawrence Lewis.
And I'm Sister Christian.
And we're here to help you unravel the complexities of film and commercial production.
Whether you're a seasoned producer, a production executive, a bidder, or a key part of the production team, we're here to equip you with the insights that I know Lawrence and I wish we had when we started out.
So you can navigate today's production challenges, conquer those demanding clients, and unlock the magic to seamless production.
All with a cocktail, of course. So grab a drink, say goodbye to the gatekeepers, and let's dive into the art of producing.
Sister Christian, I'm really excited about this episode. We have a guest co-host on with us today.
I know, I'm so excited because Jade Forte is perfect to weigh in on today's topic. She has been head of production at 3 different companies. You and I and her, we're all at that 20-year plus mark. She has seen it all as well, different reasons or reactions from client or how to handle it. So she's perfect to weigh in on this.
Jade, how are you?
Hi.
Welcome. Are you enjoying happy hour with us?
Yeah. I mean, that expression, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. I'm like, dude, the sun is up.
Yeah, seriously.
Power to you.
Yeah. So what are you drinking today?
A little cocktail that I like to enjoy on a day where I want to be on a beach.
Okay.
It's about 2 ounces of fresh squeezed lime juice, 2 ounces of watermelon water, watermelon juice, whatever you prefer. I like the one that's a little pulpier.
Yeah.
5 ounces of vodka and a splash of soda water.
That is my kind of drink, girl.
Do you have a name for this? Is this your own invention?
It's my own invention. It's what I, had in the fridge one day when it was hot. And I was like, oh, this is delicious. You can't taste any of the alcohol in it. It's a winner.
Lawrence, what are you drinking?
I like to tie it to the theme of the show, cancellations and postponements. I'm like, what kind of drink brings that to mind? And I thought about airplanes, always canceling and postponing. So I have a paper plane. It's a shaken drink, but it's served up neat in a chilled glass, 3/4 ounces of bourbon, 3/4 ounces of Aperol, 3/4 ounces of Amaro, which I'm on an Amaro kick right now, and 3/4 ounces of lemon juice. And it is delicious. Sister, what about you?
I'll get to this in a minute, but I had a friend and colleague pass away. And so I'm doing, because we both embrace our white trash roots, I'm going to have a Long Island iced tea today by Cutwater.
Oh, nice. Well, cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
I definitely want to dive into today's topic because I have a lot to say, so fucking much to say. But first, we have a request. You all must know that this podcast and our learning courses and the free resources take a lot of time, energy, focus, and a bit of money to put together for you. And it's a lot to juggle when we are still working producers. Believe me, I wish I did not have to work anymore. So if you are within range of the sound of my gorgeous voice, please pick up your phone, go to whatever app you're listening to this episode on, and give us a 5-star rating and a 2-sentence review. Just a quick one, oh my God, they're great. I listen all the time.
Yeah, it literally will take you 10 seconds. It doesn't have to be long. Just let us know what you're getting from the show and why you think it's a worthwhile listen.
And your review does a couple of important things. One, it lets us know that you're enjoying what we're doing, and it inspires us to keep making the episodes and the learning courses for you, because we know we love them. We want to make sure that you're loving them. Secondly, it lets the algorithms know that people like this podcast, and then it'll recommend other people people to the podcast who are looking for the same community that you are looking for, us.
Do it right now. Grab your phone, give us a bunch of stars, and let people know that this show is worthwhile.
So I'm just going to start briefly to say that I learned that Morgan Spurlock passed away today. And I know he's a director. He got pretty famous by eating a bunch of, McDonald's food and then like what it did to his body, right? So Oscar nominated. Some people's experiences with him was problematic. Mine was not. I'm not negating anybody else's experience. I'm just wanted to share a couple of fun stories that of my experience with him, because it really kind of hit me hard. Today he's only 53. I know his cancer, and cancer's a bitch. So again, like it really is affecting me. Lawrence, you've probably heard before me say that, oh yeah, then we had agency client meal the night before the shoot at Hooters.
Yeah.
In Fresno. So that was a Morgan Spurlock job.
Okay.
Like when I walked into his offices to meet him, walk in, get into his office, we shake hands, and I was just like, we both look at each other, and I noticed somewhere in his office something that said West Virginia, that I'm like, oh shit, my mom's from West Virginia. And he was like, where? And we started talking. I was like, oh fuck, we're probably white trash cousins. So after that, we just were like in simpatico, like we could exchange a look, and I knew what he was thinking and talking about. One of the very few directors that I did not have to change my style or mask around. We knew how each other had grown up. And what the roots where we came from, and he's a smart ass, I'm a smart ass. Like, yeah. So we just had this great connection that I enjoyed working with him. I did not do any documentaries with him. I would only produce when he would do paid commercials type stuff.
Right.
And so I was definitely that liaison between how you have to handle a client in Video Village versus on your own project where you can do whatever the fuck you want. He was definitely a do whatever the fuck you want kind of director.
Right. I can imagine.
And that for me was so much fun because I'm a do whatever the fuck you want kind of producer. So he will be missed for sure.
Oh. Well, cheers to him.
Cheers to him.
Now let's move on to the topic at hand, cancellations and postponements. We've all been through it. All three of us in this room have been through it. And it can be a bit of a scramble, right? There's a lot of emotions involved. There's a lot of ego involved. There's a lot of finger pointing and blame involved. But there's a lot of things that have to get done immediately when the situation presents itself. So where do you begin? And I know you two, within the past year or so, you've been through it. I think maybe 2 years ago, I went through it. What do you do? Where do you start?
I think that the very first thing you do is you isolate the issue. So let's just call it the day before the shoot, and the homeowner either has God forbid, a death in the family or COVID back in the day, whatever it was. But the call times are just about to go out
Oh, God.
to send everybody to this place. So the very first thing you do is you isolate the situation. Okay, is this a full loss where we're not going to be able to film tomorrow, or can we get the backup house? And so simultaneously, you're working on this with your locations department or whatever the initial problem is, while your partner, your producing partner or your PM is handling the costs of what's about to happen.
Yeah. Can you still shoot today? Is or tomorrow or whenever the plan was?
The cheapest solution is to shoot that day.
Is to stay on track.
Right.
Yeah. There's always costs involved if you're going to push. There's no way around it. When we start talking about client management, that's a big part of the question is the money. So I think getting a handle on the money, like what does this mean to us in terms of the schedule and in terms of money? And do we have the people to put together the team if we have to change the shoot day?
I mean, it helps if you have, let's say, 2 locations, a 2-day shoot, then maybe you're able to switch from day 1 to day 2. Great, not an issue, not a problem. It's just a few logistical things. But if you have 1 location and 1 shoot day, it really depends on how big the scope of the job is. If it's 15 people, great. You can pivot and work with that a lot easier than if you have 85 background and 100 crew members and animals and all of these other components in it. And when it comes to costs and discussing with people about money, I think sometimes a lot of people seem to forget that the words on the paper don't care what side of the bed you woke up this morning. You need to make a decision. This is how much it's going to cost. I hate to say it, but no one gives a fuck about how you feel. It sucks, but we have to actually deliver something today, or we're going to figure out a day in which we can do it.
It always seems to me that these decisions need to be made fairly quickly, because the longer you wait, the more it's going to cost. And people really don't like being pushed into a corner to make these hard decisions, but that's the only way to keep it going, right, Christian?
Well, so my favorite term in this instance is fully committed.
Ooh, yes.
It's even 2 days before the shoot. I know that there's and we'll get to this later, the AICP guidelines, where a lot of unions say if you cancel by 2 p.m. the day before, yeah, bullshit. Okay. If you want to put on a shoot these days, you have to book people and tell them that they're on a job, or you're going to lose good people. So I like to use the term fully committed because it takes the emotion out of what's happened. Like, I could blow up and say, I'm sorry, everyone's booked. What the fuck are you talking about? Of course we need to pay them. Just like, no, if you're canceling, a day or two before the shoot, costs have been fully committed. So if you want to immediately tell somebody how much it's going to cost to push a day or two, just push a day or two, not a week, just push to the next day. It is going to cost them the amount that the job originally did to shoot, plus a little bit more. It's like literally the entire costs are fully committed. You might be able to save on equipment, maybe, but when it comes to crew and personnel, all costs are fully committed.
Right. I mean, yeah.
That's a good non-emotional way of saying it. Because emotions fly in this, for instance, it is very hard to call up an agency producer or a client representative to say, this has happened.
Mm-hmm.
And we are pivoting as fast as we can. These are your 3 options. It's just hard because people immediate reactions are, did we just lose $200,000?
Right. Yeah.
The answer is yes.
I mean, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. And that sucks. But sometimes things happen. Okay. So isolate the problem, right? That's the first thing. 2, you said here are your 3 options. So that's like, what are the solutions, right? What are the and giving options of the solutions are a really smart thing to do, right? Because that way people don't feel like they're backed into a corner.
Yeah. And I would say, Jade, when you were head of production and that this was presented to you, what was your, what's your rundown of how to present this type of information?
It depends. There are a lot of other little factors that come into play. If, let's say it's an act of God. So let's say we're supposed to shoot at the beach. A giant whale exploded at 2:00 in the morning. And we have to explain to the client that I understand that the coastline is so big, but we only have these logistical things in place here. So the best option for you would to be, we don't shoot the ocean, we shoot buildings instead. Here's an option here. Or we can revisit this in a week once the carcass has been removed from the beach. Or we can try using a different location, which may delay us one day. Or we could try to delay our call time and you give them as many options as you can that you can execute. Don't promise anything that is not doable or is going to cost more money. When you give people more than one option or sometimes more than 3, it lets them really contemplate what's going to be the best financial decision for us to make and how is this going to affect our timeline with you have to go through post, when your delivery is, all of these other factors that come into play. So I think that, yes, here's the issue. 2, here are your options. Here's what we can do. Here's what it's going to cost you. And you have 48 hours to make a decision or 4 minutes. Tell us what you want us to do.
Do you tell the client the moment that you find out, or do you wait and make sure you have 3 options? This is what's happened, and here are some solutions. Because I feel that if you tell them before you have proposed solutions, I mean, like, I guess solutions can be, like up to the eye of the beholder, whether you're calling it a solution or not.
Right.
But I'm of the tendency to try to fix it, because why alarm somebody if you can actually fix it? While you're trying to fix it, you're also getting scenarios of how to fix it if you can't, like some solutions that don't involve original fixing. Then you go to the client a few hours after you've heard the information and then also attach some worst case scenario numbers to them too.
I mean, I agree. When you're planning a shoot anyway, you have in the back of your head, especially where it is, time of year, what's involved, you have to have a backup plan of, if shit hits the fan, what am I going to do? Know what your relationship with your client and agency are. If you can be honest with them and say, hey, agency producer, something really bad has happened. We're going to try to find a solution. Give me until 3:00 to alert the client that we may have to pivot and do something else. Great. If you have a panic-stricken, high-strung agency producer or client who, if you sneeze in the wrong direction, loses their mind, then yes, you better have that buttoned up before you even let them know what is going on. Also, if you have a client or an agency you're working with that is, I want to sue you happy, you also need to make sure that you have any legal things in place as well. And you read that contract and go through it again with a fine-tooth comb before you say anything.
Yeah, like go back to your SOW and read it.
And that's when you definitely, if you have one of those kind of clients or agents, especially if you're a freelance line producer, you need to get your HOP and your EP in on those conversations if they are one of the sensitive types. I had a job not too long ago where, it was just like anything I said that was, well, we're working on this. It came down to like legal. Well, we won't pay or we'll sue or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, wow, where is this coming from? But that's how some people respond. And if that's kind of client you have, getting important people at the company involved in those conversations, if you're a freelancer, are really important.
We used to consider weather insurance. If you're working with a fairly large agency and you're filming outside, they usually will ask you for a weather day contingency so that they're aware of how much this will do. I've seen that fall off in recent years.
But I know why it's fallen off. It's gotten so expensive, and the latitude of what could happen is getting smaller and smaller. I think it's just it's a bet that they don't want to take anymore, the insurance companies.
My experience that you should be warning your client if you're filming outside about weather from the moment the job books. And what they understand as weather and what your understanding of weather could be 2 different things. So having those definitions in place are good. Like if we're filming rain or shine because it doesn't matter, fantastic. Let's talk about it. But if it's something as bad as snow or a hurricane's coming or blizzard, like who knew that I was going to have a blizzard in Texas, but it fucking happened. And, sitting around with 20 people on a phone call saying, are we about to lose $500,000 and not have a promo for our new TV show that's coming out? And the answer is yes, you are. You are about to lose this money. So what do you want me to do? And you always lay it on, don't cancel. You can't make the call. You have to allow them to make the call.
Lightning is a really, really tough one for clients to get their heads around because it looks like you can shoot through it. We don't see lightning on camera, but you've got these metal rods sticking up in the air with a bunch of electricity tied to them. Yeah, you need to shut down.
Have you ever wanted to take your commercial film production skills to the next level?
I always do. Based on that, we've got something special for you. We want you to join us for our very first in-person Producers Boot Camp.
That's right. It's super exciting. You're hearing it here first.
Yeah.
On Sunday, April 28th, 2024, coming up very soon in Santa Monica, California, we, Lawrence and I, are hosting a half-day immersive deep dive into the art of commercial film production.
I mean, talk about community and mentorship, right? We're finally got someone kicked us in the ass. His name's Jordan Brady. And he's like, just fucking do it. So we're doing it. We're going to be in person, and we're going to import all of our knowledge into your brains. Limited spots are available just to make sure that everyone gets personalized attention. It's going to be a very small group, so grab your seat now.
And we're so fortunate to be presenting alongside Jordan Brady's Commercial Directing Bootcamp. This workshop is your ticket to mastering the intricacies of producing stellar content at top-tier levels.
That's right. Elevate your filmmaking skills with insights covering everything from deconstructing director's treatments to negotiating agency and client relationships, all from the producer's point of view.
This course runs from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., 4 solid hours, and is only $495. Hell, that's a bargain. Plus, it's the day after Jordan Brady's Director's Bootcamp, so you can make it a weekend of learning and growth.
And as a special bonus, we're offering a $100 discount to everyone who is participating in Jordan Brady's Commercial Directing Bootcamp.
Head over to producershappyhour.com/bootcamp to secure your spot today.
I want to know what you guys are doing. Jade, you said something I want to circle back to that's really interesting because, I mean, this definitely comes from experience as a producer. You always want to kind of have some kind of backup in your head. We invent problems so we can have the backup plan ready to go. Do you see that in your position as HOP, that producers of a certain level kind of always have some sort of fallback plan if some shit hits the fan somewhere, that they are quick on their feet to be able to here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to fix it and keep moving forward?
Honestly, again, it's a case-by-case thing. I came up in the industry as, if you don't have plan B and C, and if you're not thinking ahead and anticipating and knowing and saying things your director is going to want or what could potentially happen, then you're not doing your job correctly. So when I'm bidding jobs or when we're prepping jobs before it's handed over to a production team, it's like, okay, well, I want to know what my client agency's, top 3 choices are, and keep those other 2 choices in your back pocket. And you communicate that to your producer of, anticipate looking at the weather, looking at world situations, looking at activities that are going to happen in the city. Just know that we might have to move to B or C. Some producers, when you're on a stage, it's a stage, who cares? Nothing's going to happen. Have a backup, because why do you think there's a spare tire in your car? Always be prepared for what you don't think is going to happen is going to happen. A lot of times, when there are moving parts to it, yes, your producer will, know, hey, we haven't locked in a date if we're using celebrity talent. Recently, I've had a job where a celebrity talent was like, I'm not going to show up. Okay, great. Well, we still have to shoot everything anyway because
contractually
we'll just put you in post.
Yeah.
If we have to. Yes, we have to shoot this project. But it's something that you, as an HOP and as a producer and as a PM, as a friend, as anything, you try to tell people, always prepare for a backup plan. You have to. Why do you think that when you go and shoot in Lancaster, you have 2 camera bodies?
Yeah.
It's the same sort of thing.
I want to talk more about client management and specifically the blame game that goes on. Everybody wants to know why and whose fault is it. Both of you, I'd like to hear, how do you kind of reroute that thinking to problem solving?
So I think that it's very important to have the facts on your side. So you have spoken to everybody in the chain of command. You're not just taking somebody's word for it. You're actually discussing with each person. So let's go back to location. Say it is the homeowner, right? You are, and say it's LA. The houses out here have agents.
Yes, this is true.
So not only have you spoken to the location manager who has probably received the phone call from the homeowner, you've spoken to the house agent, you've spoken to everybody in the chain of command to get the stories. You have all the facts in front of you so that you can counter any emotion with straight facts. We've touched on before how hard it is to talk finances with people in general. It just is hard. It's hard to talk about money. It's hard to talk about overages. It just is, because somewhere inside you're like, oh, are they going to question me? Or are they going to are they going to blame me for this? It just doesn't matter. What you need to have are the facts, and you have to take out all the fodder. Because, you may hear stories around why it happened and how it might have happened, or, or like, oh, I should have known this before now. And you have to understand that only the facts to pass along. Don't lapse into gossip.
Right.
The craft service talk, don't lapse into well, this is what I heard. Or the homeowner said this, that grandma actually died 2 days ago, but waited to tell us because maybe the funeral, none of that matters. You just have to go in with straight facts, 3 sentences at most, and then stick to those 3 sentences and then say this, but however, our backup location is available and willing to have us come. So bonus. Or the new one will be available 3 days from now, and this is how much it'll cost. Which is your preference?
Mm-hmm.
That would be my thoughts behind it, because you can only counteract emotions or blame with facts.
That makes sense. Jade, what do you think?
I agree 100% with Sis that
there's so much behind that sigh, by the way.
There's so much. This is beyond our human control. And when you say that this is beyond our human control, this is beyond our control as a company, this is beyond our control as a production team, this is something that we had absolutely nothing to do with, but we are trying to fix an issue for you. So don't jump down my fucking throat and tell me how angry you are. I understand that you are, but shut the fuck up and listen to these solutions that I can offer to you. And I know that it's frustrating. I know that no one wants to lose money. Oh my goodness, it's horrible. But we're not solving world hunger here. It's a fucking commercial. Who gives a shit? So I understand that this is difficult, but this is something that we did not have control over. We're trying to wrangle these wet kittens for you. And here's what we can do for you. And let us know, if you need to take a minute, if you need to take a beat, if you need to consider it, if you need to scream, shout, cry, absolutely. If you need to punch someone in the throat, we're here to take that so that we can get through the emotional side of it and get down to business.
I've said this before, I see your face. So tell me everything you're thinking right now in real time. I can handle it. Just let me know, because I'm sure that I've felt exactly what you're about to say in me trying to come up with solutions for this. So say it, and I'll explain why, yes or no, that what you're about to say is going to be able to happen.
Right.
And that I've thought of it. Believe me, I have thought of what you're about to say. So please just dump it on me right now. Just dump it. And that works too, because they're heard. Lawrence, how do you handle it?
When people are focused on finding out what went wrong or what the blame is or who to blame, I was in New York and I was doing an experiential job and we did not get the permit we wanted. It was around Halloween. And so there was rumors of potential civil unrest.
Yeah, force majeure, terrorism, government shit. You cannot control that.
And,
just so everyone knows out there.
For the questions from the agency side was always well, why did they say we were okay? Why did they give us a permit? Why did they approve us? Why didn't they tell us that maybe they couldn't approve us? Why didn't blah blah blah? And I said, you know what? Nothing's going to change the situation. Finding out the answers to all these things, I'll work on that in the background. But getting the answers to those questions are not going to change our situation. And the longer we sit around to find those answers, it's going to cost us more money and give us less options to fix it. So let's prioritize solving the problem first. And I'll do what I can to get you all the information behind the scenes of later. Right now, we need to fix the problem. And that seems to work.
As good as you think your relationship is, or as much as you felt you and the agency producer are fucking long lost sisters, bitch. As much as you think it might be that, when there is hundreds of thousands of dollars in the line, that shit goes right out the door. They're going to be oh, but you said this. Did I say that?
Did I say that?
That's why I love doing everything in writing. I'm going to text you. I'm going to email you. I'm going to regroup our conversation. I'm going to record you even though you don't know it, so I can take notes later, so that everything can be traceable and, well, this is what was said, this is what you discussed, this is the solution you came up with, this is what you wanted, this is what happened, here's a paper trail in case you have to use it for some reason. Always, for the love of God, get everything in writing.
That is the hottest tip that we can ever say, because the emotions and everything, all the discussions that are happening in the moment will not be remembered 3 weeks later when you're trying to clean it up.
Yeah.
Or even 2 days later when you're trying to clean it up. People will forget that they've agreed to something.
Even over text. It's hard to search your texts and find those conversations. Those conversations need to be backed up by email because those are dated, documented, stamped, sealed, delivered, and you can find them.
And if you can record Zoom meetings, because that's another thing that people love to do, is say something on a Zoom and then pretend as soon as you hung up that you never said it. It's like, let's just play that back.
Yeah.
So then I also know that my experience whenever I'm handling people can be completely different than Lauren's experience or Jade's experience. So I'd love to understand a little bit more, Jade, about your experience in these types of things.
Sometimes you can be dealing with a client who culturally may be speaking a different language and have a different sense of how you need to explain things to them, how you need to approach things, and how you need to handle them so that you are not offending anyone. And some people, they're new to this business. This is the first time they're doing a live action shoot. This is the first time they're doing a commercial. This is the first time they're doing something with athletes. You never know. So you have to be a bit sensitive and understand that business is not personal. I'm going to say something to you, but I want you to understand that this is something that needs to be said, and it has nothing to do with who you are as a person. Please don't take it that way. And if you do, that's on you. I'm sorry.
The amount of fear of being honest, direct, helpful. I feel like so many companies, people specifically, are so afraid. And it prevents them from being honest and real and sensitive and caring and all those things that can make this business that we work in a little more humane.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. And I think that it's scary because we as production freelance people are expected to be perfect every single time to produce, and we're never allowed to say no. So when it comes to the point where you have to say no, we're not versed in how to do it in a humane and competent way.
I mean, our industry sort of sits in this weird place where it's creative and you have to adjust things and change your mind and be prepared. And then the corporate side. I mean, we wear a t-shirt and flip-flops and jeans to work sometimes. You get to work from home. So having to navigate a creative side with the corporate side and knowing what language to use and how to approach situations it's challenging. It really is. Not every company has an HR department. Not every company has a lawyer on retainer. Sometimes you're going to have to go outside to find a way to communicate things, and not having trust. It's just the way corporate America is. And when you have emotional things, because creative people tend to be sometimes a little bit more emotional, you just have to know how to navigate between the two. And I mean, I've been called cold and robotic when I've had to say something. It's look, I'm sorry that you are upset about this, but it is 4:00 and you need to make a fucking decision right now, because at 5 p.m., this is going to cost you 3 times more than I am telling you. So shit or get off the pot, or I'm going to kick you off and make the decision for you. I'm giving you 15 minutes. Do you want to talk it through? Do you need more information? Do you need me to lay something out for you? Happy to do it. Because at 4:55, the clock is ticking. And when it hits 5 p.m., I'm either going to save you a bunch of money or it's going to cost you a buttload. And don't come back to me and tell me how upset you are about it, because I gave you more than one chance to make a decision. We are dealing with people. We are dealing with schedules. This can't wait for you to figure out how you feel when it comes to ones and zeros in a bank account. Just make a choice and don't have me hold people indefinitely, because it's disrespectful. And don't disrespect people's time because I'm trying to not disrespect your money.
My heart.
But that's just the way it is.
My heart right now is so big because I mean, like it just, you've spoken directly to my soul. Lawrence has been told that by agency producers that he wasn't showing enough emotion or enough panic because of the situation. He was like, why? I'm just being calmly telling you what's going on.
Yeah, is that what I need
to do? Would it be helpful if I were to yell and scream and cry?
Yeah.
Right. Which my tactic is to match energy. So, oh, you want me to be outraged? No fucking problem. Here we go. I can't, but like, I'll put on a show for you if that's what you want. I'm sure. Like, I love putting on a show, but it's so true. It's like reality is about to slap you in the face. And I understand this, but your experience level as a client or agency should, I mean, like, this is, I've provided you with the information you need to know.
Jade, that was amazing. Thank you for sharing your perspective. I want to shift over to the AICP guidelines. And for our listeners who are maybe a bit newer, don't know what AICP is, that is the Association of Independent Commercial Producers. They represent a lot of the companies. It's a membership you can be a part of. But what they've done, and you don't have to be a member to follow these guidelines, you can use these guidelines in your contracts, in your SOWs, or you can even just say, we follow the AICP guidelines for postponement and cancellation, and put that in your contract.
Everybody uses this as their guideline. This is absolutely the standards that agencies who are non-union or union, and same with production companies, union, non-union, they all use this as their guidelines.
I'm going to put this all together in a little Producers Happy Hour PDF. You can download it on our website, producershappyhour.com. We'll have it there for you. So if you aren't familiar with them, you can download them and you have them. So that way, going forward, there's a plan in place for these types of situations. I'll go through them real quickly. A cancellation or postponement occurs during or is given 1 to 10 working days prior to the commencement of the shoot, your first filming day. The contracting client, whoever that might be, agency or client direct, is liable to the production company for 3 things: all out-of-pocket expenses, all costs to date, or committed costs. Maybe you haven't sent the check yet, but you've signed a contract and you owe money to some vendor. Number 2, full director's fees as bid. So whatever that line is in your AICP bid budget. Number 3, full production fee on the job as bid. So whatever your markup is, that's committed. The director's fee is committed, and anything that you've committed to out of pocket, spent, or have written a contract to, that is committed. So there is a little bit of savings that they might have at that point. It's not a lot, but most costs will be committed at that point.
Right. You should look at your contract because some agencies will ask that you back up your out-of-pocket costs, even though you've done a firm bid. Totally, like you which you don't have to show cost for, firm bid versus cost plus. In these instances, you may be required to show invoices, which sucks, but at least you're going to get reimbursed for all of your out-of-pocket costs.
The other provision they make in this document is that if it's more than 10 working days prior to the first filming day, the contracting client is liable for all out-of-pocket costs, same thing, but only 50% of the director's fee as bid and only 50% of the production fee as bid. So there's a little more savings there if it's more than 10 working days away from the first filming day. And then there's other, more descriptive language in here as well. But, we'll put this up on our website, producershappyhour.com, so you all can have it.
These guidelines are not unreasonable. And so if you start your job out by, adhering to these guidelines, and again, knowing that postponements for 99% of the time or cancellations are not anybody's fault. It is facts that have occurred that you need to react to.
Yeah.
Like nobody is on purpose trying to tank your fucking job. If you go in with that attitude, I feel like you can navigate this in a way that is beneficial to everybody.
Things happen. It's just life. Not you can prepare for the worst. Just deal with it.
It's just film production.
Right. As much money as there is at stake, we're just advertising here, folks. So
Jade, thank you so much for being our very first co-host on today's episode.
Of course.
Is there a way for people to get a hold of you if they want to hire you or talk to you?
Yeah, don't call me, number one. Number two, I don't have social media for a reason. And number three, the easiest way to reach me is the most basic email address on the face of the planet. It's my name, jadeforte@gmail.com. So write it down, tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dog. Send me photos of your puppies because I love them. Yeah, and if you're a non-crazy person and a stalker, then maybe I'll give you my phone number.
Sister, how about you?
sisterchristianproduces.com. And if people want to get you, Lawrence, how do they?
LawrenceTLewis.com. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for joining Producers Happy Hour.
If you got value from this episode, please don't keep it to yourself. Spread the love by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts.
And let's be honest, we wouldn't have the show without you. Your feedback helps us to keep making this amazing content.
This show is brought to you by our editor, Bren Russell at podlad.com.
And Christopher Daniels, who is our branding expert and one fabulous treatment designer.
So until next time, always remember,
making is hard.